All right, so today, inshallah, we're going to continue our YPM101, Basics of Project Management. So yesterday we talked about some key concepts, differences between projects and operations. We talked about how projects are ambiguous and lack information, and all knowledge is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We talked about characteristics of projects, how they're risky, they need teams, they have start and dates, and they have a clear scope that's defined. We jumped into the idea of vision and mission. So we talked a little bit about planning and organizing, also control and directing. So we touched on principles of management. We gave some examples of projects, common characteristics of projects. We talked about how it involves a team, some natural resources, it involves risk, requires planning and control and some work to get done. And then again, the management cornerstones, which is planning, organizing, directing, and control. And we did that exercise on a teen job fair where you guys applied those concepts to develop a mission, vision, objectives, and goals for the teen job fair. So today we'll take things a little bit deeper and start to dissect work on a project. So projects usually start with a proposal. You want to do something, that's the initiation. You design it out and then you start to implement the work or you develop it. So it comes in phases. And each of these phases could have its own initiation, its own planning, execution, and so on. Usually at ILIA, for purpose of simplicity, because our projects are not that complex, we come up with an idea, proposal, we define it, design what that project's going to look like, and then we start working on it. And then towards the end, you want to test and make sure that your results are similar or the same as what you planned. You know, you do some control on that. All right. So how does project management fit with other things? Project management is the science and the art of managing work that is temporary, that is unique to solve a specific problem. That project could involve a product, like a class, like an APL101 or 102. Those are products that ILIA offers for its students. It could involve an internship. It could involve a website. So there is another thing called product management, where you define what that product is, and sometimes they overlap. So when you go into Salesforce, you're going to find that we have both a project manager and a product manager defined for each initiative or project. The project manager is typically the person keeping tabs on the schedule and the cost and things like that, where the product manager is the person who understands the technical subject matter of the issue. So for example, you could have a project to build a website for the youth crisis line. Zafar would be the product manager and Shahd could be the project manager because she's in the outreach group and she's going to be managing the project of putting the website together. All right, so there could be some overlap. Sometimes both the product and project manager are the same person. Sometimes they're different people, but just be aware that they're two different things. Then there's something called services management. Services is an operation. So for example, fundraising or paying our bills or payroll, you know, these kind of things, they repeat. They're the same every month. Every month, you know, Behat runs the payroll the same way. Every month we do fundraising almost the same way. Sometimes you could have a fundraising activity that is a project, like if you're doing a big dinner or a campaign, in that case, that fundraising activity becomes a project, but your PayPal that's on your website is a service. It's always there. It's the same thing every day. All right. A couple of more things just to be aware of. Acquisition means to purchase things. So you might need to purchase, I know Shadin, I think, was working on the masks project. She might need to purchase blank, empty, you know, white cloth masks to put some logo on it. So acquisition is what you need to purchase in order to roll out your service. At ILIA, we don't do a lot of purchases, so it's not a big thing. So at ILIA, you're going to see three pieces or types of management. Product, things that we offer people like internships, classes, things like that. Projects, which is an activity to manage that work. And then services or operations, which are things we do every day. Enrollment of students, selling classes, things like that. All right. So 2 important things for you to be aware of when you work on some work at ILIA. What is the project scope and what is the product scope? All right. So let's take an hypothetical example here. Let's go to our document from yesterday that had the teen job fair. I'll jump into that. And we're going to do a joint activity here. So this activity will be, you are tasked to put together a plan and implement it for the youth job fair from yesterday. All right. Now, let's say you guys, the 4 of you are we're missing Mahmoud today. You guys are all on this project together. All right, so we're going to put some roles here. So there could be a project manager. There'll be a product manager. There will be, let's say, an outreach leader. There would be, let's say, a vendor slash youth liaison. Someone to kind of interact with these people. All right. So I want you to think about these roles. Who amongst the 4 of you can do these roles? So put your names down here, and next to it, put the description of the role, right? So here we're going to put your name. So you guys choose one person to be project manager, someone to be a product manager. And then here, description of the role. What does this role do? All right, and then at the bottom here, you're gonna do, you'll talk about the project scope and you'll talk about the product scope. All right, so the project scope, you kind of have it at the top of this document. The product scope, you guys will need to think a little bit about that. So if you can just underneath each of these 2 rows, just in that empty row, you can put a definition for each of those. All right, so I'll give you 5 minutes. You can brainstorm together. I'll go on mute, but before that, if you have any questions, let me know. So you guys understand what we're trying to do?
Yes.
So
Okay.
are we filling out like the project manager for the same like scenario for the youth fair? That's what we're doing? Okay.
Yeah. So take this plan at the top here. All right. We can add a couple of more things here. We can come up with a charter because we didn't do a charter here. So we'll say number 5, the charter, and we'll say you are approved to start no later than July 15, 2020 to complete on time by May 30, 2021, and are given a budget of, let's say, $10,000 to make this happen. That's really it. All right, so you have all the information now you need for both the project and the product scope. Okay, so using the information at the top, just think through these things here. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. I guess you guys see it in the document. Can you see the Google Doc now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. All right, so use the information at the top to complete these two tables, and then we'll discuss it together. All right, any other questions? All right, I will be back in about 5 minutes, inshallah.
Okay, so who wants to do like be who in this scenario?
Sorry, the what?
Like who? So first, can we go over quickly like who wants to be who for like the names, like for like the project manager, product manager, outreach leader?
Okay.
Just
You want to be the project manager?
sure, I don't really mind. I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll be product manager. Okay. So description. Wait, so what is the project manager in charge of again?
Well, like planning and organizing the whole event. So
Okay.
Wait, what page is he on?
What do you mean?
On the like Zoom screen? Oh wait, I see it. What does the product manager do?
he says it's like what we offer. So I guess in the job fair we're offering like opportunities of jobs.
We're offering what?
And to like he also said that the project manager like understands the technical problems or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe like setting up the fair.
Wait, so for the project manager, I like in charge of like planning and organizing a whole thing, sorry. But I have to like reach out to like the school and everything and like make sure that we can have our fair there and like what else would I be do? Kind of confused.
Plan out the cost or like
Oh yeah.
and like set up the dates, make a schedule. Does anyone know what project scope and product scope mean?
Anyone know what?
All right, I'm back. Good. So I see you guys are put some details here. So project manager, you nominated Sumaya, okay, and she will be planning out the fair, reaching out to the school, setting up the date. Okay, great. So basically, she's managing the work, right? So remember, managing, project manager manages. They don't necessarily do the work, but they could do parts of the work, but they are managing the work. So she's doing the planning, the control, the organization of the work. The product manager knows the ins and outs of the fair. So exactly, has the technical knowledge of what should a fair look like, right? What type of topics should be discussed in workshops? What type of companies should we invite? So the difference between the project manager is someone who's very skilled in managing work, where the product manager is very skilled in the technical details of the work, not necessarily how to manage the work, right? So again, knows about fairs and, you know, employment and things like that. All right, and then you have outreach leader Shadin, and this person will make flyers, banners. That's very good. And then the vendor, you work with different organizations to coordinate things. All right, cool. So you guys kind of got the point here. So just remember, when you see the word manager, it means you manage something. All right, in the first case, project manager, you're managing a project. In the second case, you're managing the product, and your product here is the job fair. So you guys got that right. All right, so let's talk about scope a little bit. So when we talk about scope, scope means how much, all right? When someone tells you what's the scope of the work or what's the scope of the project, think, think how much work is involved, right? How many? So ask yourself those two questions, how much and how many? So how many people are expected to show up at the fair? That's part of your scope. How much would it cost to do this project? How much time do we have, right? That's another thing. So anything that you can measure is part of your scope, all right? So project, what does a project relate to or involve? It relates to, like we said, work, right? Project is all about getting work done. So it's gonna, a project is concerned with the schedule, the cost of the work, who does the work, how much work it is. Whereas the product is concerned about what? It's concerned about the features. So what kind of job fair is this? Is it a job fair with just employers, or is it a job fair with employers and workshops? Or is it a job fair with employers and workshops and interviews? So think of these in this light. The project scope is your cost, your schedule, and the work amount, all right? Whereas the product scope is more the features and, like you had up here, the ins and outs of the product itself. So the features and capabilities of the end product, all right? So you always do a project in order to achieve a product. Making sense? So the project has to happen first. You do some work, you put some money, you get some people, and as a result, you end up with a product. So here you can put here work amount, resources, people or team. Making sense? So I want you to think a little bit about that and do that for your job fair here. Just come up with a bunch of bullets. You have all this information above. You just need to figure out which one fits in which box. All right. So I'll let you guys think about this for a couple more minutes, and I'll pause the recording here. Oops.